Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today is a very, very good day to be a Padres fan, as we did post a video yesterday, but we were just kind of breaking down the trade deadline, some of the rumors and stuff, and then Mr. Dylan Cease threw a no-no. We didn't put anything out. Our video doesn't even talk about it, even though it came out after the no-hitter, which I think is funny. People are like, dude, you threw a no-hitter, you didn't even mention it. But we recorded on Wednesday night. So today we're recording. Great day. Padres are back in the wild card spot. It was a pretty sick no-hitter. You got to see the ridiculous Jackson Merrill juggle catch. And every time there's a no-hitter or a perfect game or anything like that, you always get that crazy play. We got to see that. Now you're sitting here on Friday. You're in the third wild card spot. The Braves are plummeting. The Brewers look like they might plummet. The Mets are playing good. The Padres are playing good. Those are probably the two hottest teams in the NL right now. And it's trade deadline time. We just saw Randy Arozarena get traded, and it's going to start heating up. So we want to talk about the trade deadline today. Right now, we are putting out an episode on the best starting pitchers to get traded. And then probably in like an hour, we're going to have another episode out. So we're doing two today. Next episode is going to be on the best relievers to get traded. We're not going to do anything on the bats because we've already said it time and time again. The Padres don't need to make any trades in regarding any hitters. But it's all about the pitching. It's all about the pitching. I think if we're looking at this very briefly, the most ideal scenario is you trade for one starter and two relievers. That's like what you want to get. That's not a lot. You're not asking for a lot. The wish list is not long for the Padres. This roster is one of the more complete rosters that we've seen AJ Preller have, especially because the lineup doesn't really have any holes in it. Pretty cool to see. So that's kind of the first stuff I want to get into it. We're going to give our top five guys to kind of get traded and stuff. However, before we get into anything, I mentioned this last time really quickly. I don't want to hammer home and add to you guys, but we do have a promo code now. It helps support the channel. It's Underdog. It's the promo code is Friar Talk. You get 50% deposit match. So if you guys are into that, into like kind of sports bet and stuff like that, we would really appreciate if you did that. It'll be on the ticker here. I'll put a link in the description, all that stuff. But let's get into it. Let's talk about this trade deadline. So starting pitcher wise, number five for us, or I guess I'll give you an honorable mention because we don't want the Padres to trade for him. I've seen a lot of comments about this guy, Tyler Anderson. He's our honorable mention. And then I'll go through 5 and 4 right now because the top three guys are the guys we really want to chat about. Number 5, Cal Quantrill, familiar Padre, right? Number 4, Blake Snell. I hope you guys remember him, considering he won the Cy Young here last year. But those are our 5 and 4 starters. Now, the thing is, Tyler Anderson, there's a decent chance the Padres could go make a move for him. We don't want that. He's getting paid a lot of money. He's under control. And I think he's overrated. And we'll kind of all agree with that. We're not really big on Tyler Anderson. Number 5, Cal Quantrill. He's having a pretty good year with the Rockies. Problem is, he's in a division. Number 4, Blake Snell. He's getting a lot of interest all of a sudden. But same thing. He's on a team in the playoff race, even though they've been struggling. It doesn't really make much sense. So those are kind of our back end guys that I want to talk about. But Isaac Chase, real quick, what are your overall thoughts on those three guys? I don't think we'll see a trade for any of them. But I don't know. What are you guys feeling with those guys?
I don't want Tyler Anderson at all. He's going to cost $13 million next year. It's a guy. I mean, that's as much as we're paying Eric Hosmer to not play for us. But he's making $13 million next year. Tyler Anderson's baseball savant shows that he's massively overperforming his numbers right now. He's on a team that is really playing for nothing. No pressure to go out there and perform. Didn't have a good year last year. I'm not a big fan of Tyler Anderson on the Padres. I think the Padres, unless you're getting like Skubal or something like that, I think you're more in a position to just go after a rental, because if you lock yourself into Tyler Anderson next year, I don't think it's a good idea, especially because basically every starter in your rotation, in my opinion, maybe outside of Waldron, but even Waldron might be better than Tyler Anderson. So where are you going to put him? 13 million. Darvish is better. Musgrove's better. King's better. Cease is better. Waldron's arguably better. So these are guys that should all be ahead of him. I don't think he makes much sense. And then you go ahead and you look at Cal Quantrill, 4.09 ERA this year, but then you got to remember he plays a lot of his games in Colorado. So he goes to a pitcher-friendly ballpark, a familiar ballpark to him. You're looking at a guy that could probably fill in as that fifth starter behind Matt Waldron right now, or even Randy Vasquez if you consider him the number 4 right now. But basically, this type of trade is the type of trade where you're looking and you're saying, well, we couldn't get a lefty, but we got a righty who can give us some quality innings, keep us in ball games. Because, as you guys know, this Wednesday or this Friday game against the Orioles, you're throwing Adam Mazer. Who would you rather throw, Adam Mazer or Cal Quantrill? It's a very obvious answer because Adam Mazer has been honestly really bad this year. And giving up every fifth game in a tight playoff race isn't a recipe to get into the playoffs. So that's where Cal Quantrill comes in. And then, of course, our favorite pitcher, one of my favorite pitchers, especially with the year he had last year, Blake Snell. Blake Snell goes out there with the Giants, signs really late in the year, isn't looking too good, is honestly having probably his worst first half of the season that he's had in a little while, and that's considering that he had a really bad first half in 21 and 22. But he's kind of back to shoving, man. It's the typical Blake Snell season outside of his contract year with the Padres. Struggles in the first half, balls out in the second half, and the problem is he signed a really hefty contract, over $20 million paid to Blake Snell, and he's in the division. You're not really looking at a Blake Snell trade unless the Giants are willing to fork up some money to help us out. But even then, why would the Giants want to help us out when they're in our division? And quite frankly, they're only a few signings away from being as good as us. So why would I even say that? Honestly, guys, their lineup sucks. they kind of suck. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't think that trade would make much sense. Of course, I'd love to see Blake Snell back in a Padre uniform. Granted, I believe he would have to wear a different number because Arias wears number 4 now. But yeah, that's a trade that's super interesting and honestly caught us by surprise when we saw he was on the market again.
I'm surprised none of us have mentioned the fact that the banner going around kind of makes us feel like we're on a newscast. That's the first thing that came to mind. I think these two are really weird because they're in the division, and when do the Rockies and Padres ever really trade? They don't. They kind of stay away from each other. The Giants and Padres are more likely, but even then, it's Blake Snell. He's making $20 million. Gonna ball out. Like Isaac was saying, he's kind of off the market just because we're rivals, and I don't think the Giants were going to give us money for him to play against them. That's just kind of counterintuitive, especially if he's going to be good the second half of the season. Cal Quantrill makes more sense. I'd actually like to see a reunion with him. He's good. He's playing in Colorado, so his numbers are going to be in just a little bit. And him and Niebla could be really good together. And back to Tyler Anderson. It's not like Tyler Anderson isn't doing good or isn't good. It was one of those things where his value got inflated from being on the Dodgers. He had a career year with the Dodgers, and that just happened to inflate his numbers a lot and get able to get him $13 million. Yeah, Quantrill's numbers don't look the best, but he's still playing pretty considering he is in Colorado. And when you compare him to Mazur, who do you really want? I'll take Cal Quantrill, who's been in the MLB for at least 6 seasons. It says now. Let's go with that. I'm much happier with a 6-year vet than Adam Mazur coming out here and basically throwing bullpen games to the other team. Like it's much better for him to just come back to San Diego, get a good pitching coach, be in a pitcher-friendly park that is Petco. I feel like that is the shoe and run from the lower end guys.
Yeah, so Chase, you say Adam Mazer's name insane. Just gotta put that out. Also, I had to.
For those who don't know, I just got back from a bachelor's party where I have had like a combination of 3 hours of sleep a day, so I might be a little woozy still. So we're here though.
Yeah. Also, I had to, I had to take off the banner because I feel like if anyone was listening to that, like, it looked kind of insane. I don't like. It's all right to put on there a little bit, but I'm gonna like take it on and off because it looked a little bit crazy. But I'm with you guys. Like, I feel like Blake Snell would be sick. Dude, Blake Snell's making like $38 million or something next year. So it's more like, yeah, it's great in theory, but it's like that trade's gonna look. He's not gonna get traded because they're going to have to eat so much money. And it's like, why would they do that? It doesn't really make any sense. They're not like horrible. Like they're still in the mix technically. You're expecting, and Blake Snell's getting better. Like I don't think they're going to trade him. Quantrill's like the low cheap end option of like we need to get another guy in here. Like we need to do that. And then Tyler Anderson. I feel like we've said enough. We don't really want him. But then this is where it starts getting interesting, and we'll have to go through this kind of quick. We're already 10 minutes in. We haven't really got to the guys we want to even talk about. But I'll just go three to one right now. And actually, no. We're gonna do 3 and 2 because I want to talk about Scooble last. I want to talk about him last. But at number 3, we have Jack Flaherty, and at number 2, we have Yusei Kikuchi. Right? Those are two options that I think are really good. We've talked about Kikuchi on live streams and stuff like that. He's a lefty. Is he going to be that? Is he going to be like crazy good? No. You're talking about him coming in, sitting in your 5 spot. I like that idea a lot. He's not going to cost a lot to trade for. So I think he's a guy that like he's been good. And Chase, Isaac, you wrote some notes here. You said, look, he's at 111 innings pitched, and his expected ERA is a 3.99. Him slotting in your 5 spot instead of Mazers, dude, that's money right there. That's awesome. Now Flaherty, he's balling out this year, and he's his career's been a little bit up and down. Like he was super hyped up, but right now has a sub 3 ERA, a sub 1 WHIP. His baseball savant is very, very nice. The only thing is he's going to cost a lot more. He's also a rental. These guys are both rentals. He's also a rental. And he's probably going to cost more, and he is a righty at the end of the day. And I guess maybe the Padres just don't care about having the righty starter. So maybe if you're just trying to get like a better piece, Flaherty's probably the answer. If you're not looking to trade as much prospect capital and you're really looking for a 5 starter and you're like, dude, hopefully Darvish or Musgrove come back, then I think it's Kikuchi. But it is a very interesting spot because either one of these guys is going to have a huge impact. And I think ideally you trade for one of those 2 guys. We'll talk about Scooble in a second here, but that's the most realistic thing I think the Padres do is trade for one of those 2 guys. Now, Chase and I, we think we'd rather go with Kikuchi. We'd go with the lower end option. That's kind of our thought. Isaac doesn't want that. Isaac wants to go after Flaherty. So, Isaac, why do you like him over Kikuchi? And I know it's close for both of us, but
yeah, it's close. I mean, the only thing that kind of swings me towards Kikuchi a little bit is that with the Kikuchi trade, you guys saw that Fangraphs projection. You can trade for a bullpen arm and a starter in the same trade, and honestly, that's a good idea. But in a tight playoff race where every game matters, I'm looking at a guy with a 2.95 ERA, a guy that I don't expect to negatively regress this season in Jack Flaherty because he has an expected ERA of 2.95 as well. He's striking guys out at the highest rate he ever has. He got signed to a prove it deal this year, right? 1 year, I believe, was $19 million. He's doing more than proving it. He's ended up being one of the best pitchers in the American League, one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. He doesn't have like a ton of velocity. His average fastball velo's, what is it right there, 93. So it's not like he throws very hard. But doesn't really matter because this year he's striking guys out at one of the highest rates in baseball, 94th, what is it, the 93rd percentile on K percentage, 11.22 K per 9 right now, 43% ground ball rate, one of the lowest walk rates as well. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. This is a guy that you're penciling in right after Matt Waldron, and you're saying instead of, oh man, I hope this guy keeps us, yeah, he'd probably even higher. Instead of saying, oh man, this guy's going to keep us in the game, you're saying, hey, if we put up 3 or 4 runs, we're probably going to win this game because Flaherty's going, he's having himself a really good year, and he's going to be pitching in a pitcher's friendly ballpark on a team that's contending. I mean, this is a guy, I think he's perfect for the Padres. Now, the only difficulty with that is that you don't have a lot of prospect capital, so you kind of need one of those trades where you're saying we need to get a starter and a reliever in one trade. Now, I don't know if the Tigers have any relievers available. We're going to have a reliever video out. I don't remember. Yes, I believe it's one that we're going to have in there from the Tigers that we could say, hey, this guy would be pretty good if you include him in a Flaherty trade. Now, the only problem is he's going to be a lot more expensive. We looked at that Kikuchi trade with Yimi Garcia, and we saw, hey, come on, why would we not give up Eggy Rosario, Brandon Valenzuela, and Homer Bush Jr. for 2 guys that are going to contribute for the Padres right now? And again, it's really close for me. I'll go on to Yusei Kikuchi right now. He's in the fours, and when it comes to ERA, but we can expect positive regression because his expected ERA is a 3.99. He's consistent. He's going to give you a lot of good innings. He's throwing 111 innings pitched. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. But the Padres could also use a lefty starter. I don't think we've gotten a single start from a lefty this year, which is shocking considered Blake Snell penciled in as your number 2 for 3 years, and he was fantastic. But not having a lefty, I wouldn't say it's hurt the Padres. I mean, all the Padres righties have been fantastic for the most part. But he's going to pencil in right after Matt Waldron. He's going to give you reliability. He's going to give you quality innings. But the main thing about these two, especially Kikuchi, Flaherty's more of a luxury. But with Kikuchi, you know what you're getting. You're not getting a loss every 5th day the way you're getting with Adam Mazur. And that's huge for the Padres in a playoff race where you're only 1 game back of Atlanta. You're only half a game back of, I believe it's the Mets. So you're in a tight playoff race, and you're saying, hey, if we can get Kikuchi, if we can get Flaherty, that gives us a lot better odds of being able to win 5 in a row, whereas today you're saying, we've already won 5 in a row. But today we could make it 6, but now you're saying, well, damn, Adam Mazur's on the mound. How are we going to make it 6 in a row, right? So it's a huge deal to be able to get either Kikuchi or Flaherty. Of course, skill set, I prefer Flaherty. I really want Flaherty. I think he pencils in perfect for the Padres team, and he's only a rental. You don't have to worry about him for the next few years. But Kikuchi also makes a ton of sense.
See, I think Kikuchi makes more sense just in the fact that you're going for kind of like a cost reductive thing so that you can go and out and we said we want 1 starter, 2 relief pitchers. And a couple of the guys that we want in relief are going to be a little bit more expensive, so I would much rather go for the cheaper pitching. Because even then, if you get both Musgrove and Darvish back, are you going to rock a 6-man?
Well, Chase
we don't know. We don't know if we're going to rock a 6-man, but I'm sure Chase will be back soon.
I have a feeling that Chase is having an odd morning. So we're going to take him out and see if he comes back here in a second. Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, apparently we're never going to.
Yeah, we'll find out when he comes back.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of gave my piece a little bit. I think it really just depends like what move you're trying to go for. And I think the biggest factor of that, like what Chase is talking about, those guys coming back, the Padres, I really hope so. I hope they have more insight into whether or not those guys are going to have a chance.
They have to, yeah.
Like Darvish might have been straight up in the middle, like, guys, I'm not coming back this year. I'm not coming back. And that's totally fine. Like he's going through some stuff clearly.
Yep.
Musgrove, I don't think they know what's going on with Musgrove. But they might be like, dude, it's way too risky to wait for him to come back. So that's the other thing. And I think maybe that'll depend on that move. And maybe that will give us some insight also. Then the number 1 guy, and this is not last, but this is last but not least, 100%. Tariq Skubal. Dude is a beast. All right. This is our number 1 guy. And look at this, dude. Look at this baseball savant, man. This looks like a Fernando baseball savant right here. This thing is great. This looks like Aaron Judge. This is the best of the best right here. This looks like Paul Skeens, right? Like this is wild. All right. So we got him here. Now you look at his. I want to show a couple things because I think there is a little bit of something that we haven't really discussed that much. All right, like last couple years, he's been money, right? Year before he was really good. A couple years before that, he was young. He's getting into the league and stuff. Like we see that with guys when they're coming up. The only thing is, and this is a concern that we always talk about, Isaac.
Yep.
He hasn't finished with 150 innings pitched. Now this year, he's been a workhorse. Like look, what's that? Top 10, top 15, right? I can't really tell the level of red. It looks like top 10 or top 15 in innings pitched so far this season. He's been going deeper in the ball games. He almost goes 6 innings every single night. So it's been good this year, but in the past, it's been a little bit scary. Now, is that like a massive concern? Like, no, not necessarily. However, we're talking about a guy that he's going to cost you Ethan Solis plus. Like that is the case. You have him after this year for 2 additional years. So you get, 2+ years of control. You're getting a number 1 level starting pitcher. You're gonna have him and Cease throw 1 and 2, and Michael King 3, and all of a sudden the thing is, if you make this move, what happens is you don't become a team where you're like, well, maybe we'll make, maybe we're fine for this wild card. The expectations change. The expectations turn into, can the Padres contend for the division now? Can they go and win a couple games and beat the Dodgers for the division? Like, you don't talk about and if you do miss the playoffs, it's an insane disaster like last year. Like, that's what that would become. But this is a massive swing. And I don't know if he's on the market. It seems, I don't think he really will be. Like, I don't think they'll actually take offers, but it's an Ethan Solis plus. Like, that's the cost for him.
Yep.
And there's a reason that's the cost for him, and he's
Yep.
worth it.
Yep.
But there is risk involved with the innings. But if you're going all in, that's the move you make. That is 100% the move you make. And all of a sudden, your rotation is insane. You get the lefty, you get an 8. Like, he might be your 1. Like, he probably is your 1. So it would be a massive trade. It will be the biggest blockbuster of all of the trades that are done.
Oh, for sure.
He's better than Crochet. Like,
Yep.
he is. So that's the only guy that you do that. And we also don't have Crochet on the list. We didn't even bring him up because we've already said we're out on him. Like, we don't
Yep.
think that. But Scooble, send it. Like,
Come on.
if you're gonna do that, I'm not gonna hate on that trade. Fair. Go ahead, go for it. We saw them do that before, and they went pretty far in the playoffs. I think it's worth that swing.
Yes. I'll talk about Scooble real quick. I'll let Chase go ahead and talk about all three guys after. But with Tariq Scooble, you guys have noticed, obviously, and it might be a shock because the guy that gets talked about the most at the deadline, because he's for sure going to be available, is Garrett Crochet. He's an all-star. He's probably going to be in the Cy Young running for the foreseeable future. Around a 3 ERA, plays for the White Sox, has years of control. But a report just came out. A report came out that he's not willing to pitch in October unless he gets a new deal. That's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard from someone that that's never thrown that many innings. You're not a certified ace yet. The guy we haven't heard that from, Tariq Scooble. If Tariq Scooble is available, we don't know if he is. Meanwhile, Crochet, if he's available, he's definitely available. But if Scooble's not available, Crochet is probably the best arm on the market. If Scooble's available, he immediately becomes the best arm on the market. With Tariq Scooble, you got to be willing to give up Ethan Salas. We don't want to give up DeVries. We think DeVries is really good. And as we know, the Padres only are able to hit on shortstops. And they are not able to hit on catchers. Hence, Austin Hedges, Luis Campusano, Francisco Mejia, so on and so forth. There's a ton to go through.
Get that Luis Campusano slander out of your name. The man just caught a no-hitter, all right?
That's true. That's true. Also, I didn't even get the chance to talk about Dylan Cease. That was dominant. That was one of the most dominant outings we've seen in the MLB all year. Shout out to Xander Bogaerts for the one play he made, and a shout out to him for also almost costing it, and shout out to Jackson Merrill for catching that ball. That was one of the most fun no-hitters I've ever seen. Anyway, back to Tariq Scooble. I think the main difference for me between Scooble and Crochet is that not only is it the innings pitched, there's a dog behind me. Sorry if you can hear him. Not only is it the innings pitched, but it's also the fact that Scooble has like a 5-pitch mix and Crochet mainly throws 2 or 3 pitches. If I'm looking at my notes right now, Scooble throws a fastball, changeup, sinker, slider, and he mixes in a knuckle curve around 5% of the time. Now, one thing I noticed looking at his Savant page is that the deeper he gets into games, he tends to struggle. Think of Dinelson Lamet. Remember, guys, in the first few years for Dinelson Lamet, when he got to the 5th or 6th inning or the 3rd time around the lineup, he tends to struggle. It's kind of the same for Scooble, but maybe not so much this year as it was in the years past. He's only 27 years old, 2.5 years of control. Again, would be the best pitcher on the market. And immediately you pencil him in as your ace. Not only do you pencil him in as your ace, yes, exactly. He struggles the further he gets into game 6 and the 7th inning, he tends to struggle. Now remember, back to what I was saying. This guy's your game 1 starter. So if you're trading Salas and you know you're getting your game 1 starter in ace, and this isn't just for this year, this is for the foreseeable future. This is for multiple playoff runs, hopefully. You're kind of looking and you're saying, hey, it's worth giving up guys that we have to give up to get them. But this, I'd much rather give up what we have to give up to get Scooble than Crochet.
100% on that. Just even then, Scooble I think only has what his max innings was like 150. So even then, he hasn't shown that he can throw 200 innings quite yet. But that's going to be way more of a guarantee than Crochet. I sort of cut out. My laptop died randomly when I was speaking earlier. So, and now my dog is barking. This has just been a great video for me. Going back to the whole thing with Coochie, I'd much rather just get him. You can get 2 starters than that for cheap. Going to Scooble, he by far, if he is on the market, like Isaac and you said, he is the best pitcher to get. It's going to cost a lot. I do not want to give up the Vry. Salas looks like he's still going to be really good, but he's definitely come back down to earth as a prospect where, he's struggling this year. He hasn't had the offensive production that everyone thought he was going to have. The Vry, on the other hand, looks like he's just going to continue climbing up and up and up and up and up. And so if we're going to ride the hot hand, we're going to ride the hot hand. Don't get rid of the Vry, get rid of Salas. However, what options does that leave you? Bullpen? It's one of those things where you do that. How many arms can you afford in the bullpen? Who are you going to be able to trade to get a couple bullpen arms? Now, does it in fact make your team a lot better? 100% yes. Is it the ideal move? Probably not. Yeah, you get your game 1 starter. You can move Darvish back into the bullpen. But here's the thing. Are you going to move Darvish back into the bullpen? Who are you moving into the bullpen? Probably Michael King. You can't move Cease. You can't move Musgrove. You'll move Waldron. But then you got 2 righties in the bullpen, and you're still missing a lefty. And your lefty is now starting. With Kikuchi, the argument that I make is, hey, sure, you can go all righty rotation, and then maybe you throw King, Waldron, and Kikuchi to the bullpen. You get 1 more lefty bullpen arm. You get 2 guys that, hey, you need some long relief. King and Waldron got you. You need a strong inning. Waldron's got you. Kikuchi's got you. I'd maybe save King for a long relief role, but that's what it's going to be during the playoffs. I mean, I think that I'd take that Kikuchi in 1 arm or 2 arms, and then, hey, he gets you to the playoffs. He jumps back into the bullpen, provides more relief, and you get a couple more arms that you can afford because you didn't trade for Scoble. I mean, hey, there's always the off season too. There is always the off season too. I think there's a lot of area to play. I mean, if he's on the market, there's going to be a team that trades for him. And is he going to get a similar packet to Crochet? Because we've already seen that the White Sox already sent back like, yeah, no, Dodgers, you didn't give us enough. So considering that was already said about Crochet, I wonder how much his package is going to cost then. Because we're looking at maybe Salas, Lesko, and Snelling.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be interesting. So I don't know. I feel like that's kind of our overall. Dude, we went long today on this one. We're gonna have the bullpen one out in a little bit here too, but it's a fun discussion. It's exciting to have. Also, I don't know if you guys have seen, but the Vries, dude, he has over a 700 slugging this month. It's been ridiculous. So yeah, I feel like, dude, I mean, every team's gonna ask for him. That's the other problem. It's like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna ask for that dude. He looks ridiculous. And now Salas, like, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm out on Salas, but like, I don't know, like, and maybe people have this answer in the comments, but do you guys know of any like super elite superstar players that hit under 200 in the minors? They can be dead honest. Like, is that a thing? Because superstar players don't do that. And I know he's 18 years old, and I'm not trying to like rip on him like I'm saying, but like when you're talking about trading or keeping guys, like Leo DeVries is a year younger, and he was struggling too. And then he started popping off, and now he looks insane. Salas could 100% do the same thing, but they also were rushing him all crazy, and he went to Double-A, and like I feel like it might have messed with him a little bit, and that was a concern last year. Like we even talked about that. So I think when you're looking at which one you'd probably trade, I think that it would probably be Salas, and like maybe like the prospect rankings don't have that. But I remember, I don't know, you guys remember a few years ago when we talked about who the Padres should trade? Should they trade James Wood Or, oh my God, dude, I forget his name. Think of that. Like, I forget his name. What's the other outfielder? The dude that could play all three positions.
Was it Hassel?
Hassel, yeah, dude. And it was
Hassel.
like, Hassel's way better. Hassel's way better. It's like, really? Because James Wood looks like he's tearing the cover off a baseball. Like, he just looked like he had way more potential, and he's already in the pros. Robert Hassel has flown down the ranks of the minor leagues. I don't think he's even, I mean, I definitely don't think he's a top 100 prospect anymore. And it's like, dude, like, just because like the prospect rankings are behind, it's like, yeah, that's because they value age so much higher than a lot of other stuff, than like actual talent. So I think it's interesting when you start looking at these guys. Now, ideally, the Padres are probably not going to trade either Salas or DeVries. That's just the case. But it's gonna be crazy, dude. And I think Kikuchi definitely makes the most sense. Now, we're gonna talk about the bullpen here in a second. That'll be out a little later. Hopefully, no one gets traded out of the bullpen names when we're recording, because it's getting a little bit. The market's getting a little hot right now. But both the Blue Jays and the Tigers have options out of the pen too. So maybe a trade would look like a little package like that. There's a lot of package trades that could be made, but I think this is where we're at for the starters, dude. Once again, gotta bring this up. Underdog, promo code Friar Talk, 50% deposit match, helps us out a ton. But yeah, thank you all for listening. This is our thoughts on the pitchers. Let us know what your top 5 is. Went a long time breaking these guys down. I'm pumped. Any trades, any like rumors and stuff, we'll have vids out. It might be a quick thing for like Padres are interested in this guy, and we'll do like a couple minute vid or whatever. But we wanted to get these long conversations about like, hey, this is what we like. So, dude, we're probably gonna have like an hour of a show today, because we're gonna have this one and then the bullpen one right after. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Like, subscribe, let us know what you think, all that stuff. Underdog, word. All right, see y'all.